Heartbroken family and friends gather for the funeral of Lieutenant Colonel Ray Rivas, a soldier whose invisible wounds finally became too much for him to bear. The 53-year-old soldier had dedicated his career to rebuilding war-torn countries, but war tore his own life apart. Earlier this year, Ray made a difficult journey to Capitol Hill.
I didn't choose to get blown up.
Remember those words. Ray had served several tours of duty, mainly in Iraq and Afghanistan, and had been in repeated bomb attacks, the blast waves of each incident causing injury to his brain. Yet he kept getting sent back to war over and over. Doctors finally realized his brain was being slowly destroyed. The final blast, Iraq, October 2006. Ray was medevaced to Germany, but then convinced doctors he was okay. Once again, he was sent back to the combat zone. A week later, ill and confused, he was finally diagnosed with an initial traumatic brain injury and shipped home for good. He was sent to Walter Reed Army Medical Center, where the full extent of his injuries still seemed to elude doctors. Some thought he was just experiencing combat stress, one of his colleagues tells CNN. But it finally became clear Ray was a soldier with serious traumatic brain injury.
This happens when a soldier is exposed to multiple blasts, and their brain physically changes.
At that Senate hearing, his wife Colleen did most of the talking, explaining the devastation of Ray's brain injury.
He couldn't do simple things, and just getting dressed, just feeding himself, and he stuttered terribly.
In his written testimony to Congress, Ray said even when he was finally sent to Brooke Army Medical Center in Texas, quote, I was pretty much on my own for 2-3 months. Ray said the only help he got with his personal needs was from other soldiers.
When he first arrived at BAMC, he just sat there in a room.
Finally, the military assigned a caseworker, and Ray got massive amounts of therapy. He seemed to improve. But on July 15th, he lost his battle. He died alone in his car here at Brooke, an apparent suicide. There were prescription pills and notes he wrote to his family, according to colleagues. Ray's family declined an interview request. The military would not discuss Rivas's medical condition due to privacy issues. But CNN was given an internal military message written by those directly familiar with his case. It says at the time of his death, quote, Ray was severely debilitated from his repetitive brain injuries. He showed signs of a patient with rapidly progressing Alzheimer's. According to the Army, perhaps as many as a third of wounded troops experience some level of traumatic brain injury from being in bomb attacks.
If a soldier falls through the cracks and doesn't get the care they need, they're not diagnosed, they're not treated for traumatic brain injury, their outlook on life is going to be it's going to be terrible.
Ray was also upset that after everything he'd been through, 3 decades of military service in both the active duty and reserve, he still didn't qualify for a full military and VA pension.
I didn't choose to get blown up before I made sure and had 20 years of active duty.
Friends say Ray knew his condition would only worsen over time. It's not certain what happened in his final hours or how Ray Rivas got so many prescription pills. But Rivas's war ended here, steps from the front door of the hospital where he had been treated. A colleague says his friends believe Ray simply was in pain and tired of fighting those wounds that so many thought were invisible. Barbara Starr, CNN, Washington.